Good morning, Doctor. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. And yourself?
Fantastic. Very excited to talk with you because I think it all starts with boys when they're just itty-bitty guys who find out that things can go pop, which leads to a boom. This book is, I'm so attracted to it because you really take us behind that yellow label.
Well, I try to give an insight into the reality of it. People have so many expectations based on actually way too much Hollywood and way too much CSI and shows like that. So I try to bring some humanity, reality, a little history, and a little science into it. That kind of was the goal.
You know, that's so interesting that you talk about how CSI and all that have, because in my notes here, I say that the average person is a graduate from the University of NBC and ABC when it comes to forensics.
Yeah, you are not far wrong in that. I mean, most people get their reality, especially in an area like this that is not as common from watching the Hollywoodization of the actual events, which have to be made overly dramatic for the very purposes of, display on a television or a movie screen. And the reality is not nearly as visually appealing. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. The book we're talking about is The Bomb Doctor. I think what's really fascinating about this is that you are proving to each and every one of us, it doesn't end when things go boom, that you physically have got to do the science behind it and to really dig in and get answers.
Yeah, you're right. My team and the people I've been so very fortunate to work with, after things go boom is when we get busy.
Yes.
We send teams in, we collect, and it's a cascade of teams. We have a team that goes out and collects. We have a team of agents that investigate. We have a team of scientists that when the evidence comes back in the lab, we do an analysis, we write reports. We work with prosecutors, and then we go all the way to court. So we live with the evidence from the time the event occurs all the way through it running through our legal system, which by necessity is not the fastest process in the world.
I don't know how you do it mentally because, you've got to have patience. Is this that black belt inside of you, walking that black belt path that makes you so patient at what you do?
I don't know as if my colleagues would call me patient, quite frankly.
Really?
But you have to be very focused and driven, and there is a measure of stubbornness. And I tell people, getting a PhD is not really about being smart so much as it's being stubborn and just sticking to something. So if you have that stick-to-itiveness, you have basically kind of a part of a personality trait that you need to move forward in this field.
In a very weird way, I think this time, because our lives right now are surrounded by a lot of bombs and explosions. And we don't understand it, but we see the destruction. We need to learn how to handle the situation here. And this book opens that door.
Well, thank you. That's part of what I wanted to do. And also, to let people know that they're not powerless in here, that the entire public plays a part in prevention of these acts, in just understanding that they're warning signs and indicators. And if something seems a little squirrely, that it probably behoove you to let someone know. We're all responsible for our safety. The FBI, your local law enforcement, we're not always the first on scene, and we're certainly not the first ones to see indicators. So it's a matter of empowering people. One of the things that makes you feel scared in some situations or nervous about living in a society with violence is a feeling of powerlessness. And we're not powerless. We have, as a society, the chance to observe and to protect each other.
I got to be honest with you. I wish that they would outlaw backpacks. I'm tired of people carrying these backpacks and then setting them on the floor, because when they set them on the floor, as far as I'm concerned, there's something inside that backpack.
Yeah, see, now you're living in my world.
Oh.
That paranoia. Whenever I'm looking around and seeing abandoned bags, that's why a lot of places have gone to see-through backpacks, quite frankly, for that very reason.
Wow. Why are there so many myths? Is it because of Hollywood, or is it that our imagination is getting away with itself?
That's a good question. I think Hollywood feeds it, and I think it's you can't be an expert in everything. And so no one really understands the science. I didn't understand the science when I got my PhD. I was a chemist. You know, I've stumbled into this field. I didn't understand the science until I started digging into it. And so it's a matter of you have to seek out knowledge and you have to educate yourself in particular areas. If all you do is watch CSI or, you know, shows like that, then you're getting a kernel of truth with a whole big wad of make believe surrounding it. So one of the things I always do is I read history books, I read science books. I just find it fascinating educating yourself on what the true reality is.
Are you looking for the needle in a haystack?
Sometimes,
Really?
sometimes I am. Other times, you know, the truth or the reality is so obvious that it doesn't take long at all to figure out what happened. You know, when you read the book, the collar bomb case took 7 years to kind of come to fruition. I've had other simpler cases that within a day that we figured out. So, you know, it's like any other event. Some of them are very basic and some of them are really complex.
Wow. When you go in to do a study with the FBI and the bombings that they have to deal with, I mean, and then to put this in a book, do you have to go through their editors as well?
Yes, it's very important.
Yep.
I cleared this book through many hurdles because one of the things I wanted to be very sure of is that I was not compromising us in any fashion, any way, any form. And so I ran it through a technical review with other experts in the field. I ran it through our records folks to make sure that everything there was copacetic. So it goes through a long and lengthy review process, as it should.
Yeah. I don't know how you mix up with people in the way that, you know, people are very loose with their tongues these days. And, you know, verbally they'll say things like, oh, man, I wish I could just blow this thing up. I don't know how you deal with things like that because the way they act and react and really don't mean it. They say things that would just get underneath my skin.
Yeah, and you have to give humanity its due in that regard. Yeah, you know, and that's why, you know, if you look like something at Facebook when someone just goes in and blows off steam, as it were.
Yeah.
You know, no one's monitoring Facebook except, you know, the people who are following you. And it's neighbors or friends and other folks who are seeing that and saying, you know, Bob's just angry today. And there's other people who say, this dude scares me. And his posts scare me even more. Those are the ones that really should tell someone about. So, you know, it's people who know the individuals, people who've experienced with them that really have the best way of discerning whether they're a threat to themselves and others.
You know, being a part of that Mythbusters legacy, the thing is that they made it fun, but you also educated us as to, no, it looks cool, but it's very dangerous.
Yeah, I really love the Mythbusters. When my boys were young, I used to watch it with them all the time. It's kind of funny because when I got to do, I work with some of the bomb techs who work with them, and when I got to do the one episode and be an advisor, my only stipulation was I wanted to be on the credits just so I could show my kids to give them gravitas.
So, in this day of AI technology, how are explosives changing?
AI technology, it's a mechanism to make accruing knowledge easier. So every step in technology has basically taken knowledge and distilled it and made it available to a wider group of people. So, you know, the printing press did the same thing. You know, it broadened our ability to communicate with each other. All AI is doing now is being the librarian for you. It's going out there, it's hunting down information, it's packaging it in nice, digestible fashion and feeding it back. So it's not that the information's not there, it's just that the barrier to getting to it has been decreased.
You know, in reading the book, the one thing that I thought, oh, wow, he's there for the beginning, the middle, and the end. And then I changed that word end because it's a continuation, because how something blows up today could be the beginning steps of something that blows up tomorrow.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, the beginning, the middle, and the end, because I really did want to do that for an event and for my career, quite frankly. And I like the way you said it's not the end because it's passing off to another group of people. Mm-hmm. When I shuffle off this mortal coil, as they say, there will be people in line behind me who are going to continue this on. We, you know, as a society, be investigating crimes like this since they've occurred. And our tools increase just as the the materials available to the bomb maker do.
Yeah. One of the things to this day, I still don't understand, and maybe I don't need to understand, but I mean, when the Boston bombing happened, pressure cooking bombs, well, I had never ever heard of that term before.
Well, it's and not to be bomb making 101. It's a vessel that just contains pressure, as it says right in the name. And the more pressure you contain, the greater the results are when the pressure is vented.
Jeez, I mean, it just seems like that they keep changing. They keep, it's something new every single day. And of course, you bring up the word dirty bomb, and my heart just wants to stop and run in a completely different direction.
Yeah, and we have a whole raft of people who do with the chem, the bio, the rad, the nuke. That's not my gig, happily. But that does add a layer of complexity on top of everything else. And in terms of things changing, you can look back in the 1800s and you can see the anarchists back there talking about making the same type of pipe bombs that we see today.
Wow. Wow. So when you have something like Oklahoma City that takes place, do they come to you for your expert opinion in the way of going, okay, how can we prevent this from happening again? We need to put some sort of a limited a rule on the amount of fertilizer someone can buy, or you need to document who is buying what at all times?
Well, you got to realize that the United States government and the responsibility for preventing these horrific acts is really distributed across a whole host of agencies, and everyone engaged in this fight knows each other. And so after some horrific event does occur, there is communication between all the different government agencies who have this bit of the pie, that bit of the pie, and how we can better work together, how we can address any vulnerabilities that we see. We're constantly doing that. And it's, we don't want to curtail anyone's freedoms, but we want to try to ensure that there's some security and safety. So it's a balancing act, but all of us do try to work together after, and even when there's not one of these events, quietly in the background, trying to avoid these events occurring.
The book itself, The Bomb Doctor, it gives people that real full vision of what goes on behind the scenes, in the way of, if you go to a rock concert, we never get to see who puts the drum set together or tunes up the guitar. And I feel like that this is what this book is. You are taking us behind the scenes to show us the real deal.
And that's what I was trying to do. And I was also trying to, in part, is that these are human stories. Yes, and I think that that gets lost. And every single one of these bombings has a story that'll break your heart, has a side story that's just hilarious. It's humans. Humans are doing this from the very beginning to the very end. And science is integral to this. And as a scientist, I wanted to impart some of that in a digestible fashion.
In a very special way. Do you hope that this book inspires someone to become a bomb detective?
I hope it inspires someone to do something within the sciences, or if nothing else, to read and study further in this area, to educate themselves in the history, and just to follow that path wherever it may lead.
Wow. What did you learn from doing this? Because once you put it on paper, dude, I mean, your soul is wide open now to learn new tricks.
What I learned from doing this is I'm glad I'm not an author for a living. And as I said in one interview, I don't even remember when, that both being a professional writer and being a bomb tech, you both experience a lot of landmines, and I'm not sure which has more.
Where can people go to find out more about you and really dive into your journey?
Because of the nature of my work and what I still do, it's a little difficult to find anything about me other than this book and a handful of other small things in interviews. Wow.
Well, I feel very blessed then today that I even got 15 minutes with you.
It's been a great time. I hope I've imparted something entertainment value-wise to you.
Oh, and content. My God, you're full of content, and I love you for that, dude.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay, sir?
You as well.